Hello, and welcome back to Sportic. Following Novak Djokovic's 2023 success, I thought it would be a great opportunity to go through his career season by season, ranking it in terms of a tier list. S being amazing, excellent, the best, A being great, B being solid, C being not poor, but not up to the standard of Novak Djokovic, and D being below standard. That is, we're talking in terms of Novak Djokovic's standards. He's the GOAT, so it's going to be very hard to rank Djokovic low on this list. So let's get straight into it. 2007 was a great season for Novak Djokovic. He was able to establish himself as the real third guy on the ATP Tour. He won his maiden Masters title in Miami and was able to back it up with a Canadian Masters title where he beat Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer en route to his second ever Masters title. That is massive, and it will be remembered for a long, long time because this is the tournament which was able to show that he can really beat these two guys. He also made that final at the US Open, which was his maiden ever US Open final. He lost to Roger Federer, which was the only ever time he lost to Roger Federer in Grand Slam final. And 2007 was a great year to show that Djokovic is the real deal. And therefore, I would rank 2007 firmly in the B tier. 2008 saw Djokovic's maiden Grand Slam triumph at the Australian Open, which was amazing because he was able to beat Roger Federer en route to his first ever Grand Slam and prove that Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer are beatable at the Grand Slams. In addition, he also won 2 Masters titles and the year-end championships at Shanghai, which proved to be the final ever year-end championships to be held at Shanghai before being moved to London. This was the first of his record 7 ATP finals or year-end championship titles, and of course the Australian Open was the first of many. In addition, Djokovic was able to back up his Australian Open win with solid showings at Roland Garros and US Open, and also was able to bring home his bronze medal at the Beijing Olympics, which for now is the only Olympic medal Djokovic has. Therefore, I would put Novak's 2008 season in the A tier. Djokovic's 2009 season was not up to the standard of the previous 2008 season. And although he did win 5 titles, his Grand Slam results were not up to the standard of 2008. This was a season that he was getting criticised for quitting, and although I would make arguments to say otherwise, 2009 was quite a difficult season because Roger Federer made that highlight shot tweener against Djokovic at the US Open, and that is what I always think of when I think of Djokovic's 2009 ATP season. The highest I can rank Djokovic for 2009 is the C tier. Many critics say that Djokovic's 2010 season was poor. However, I beg to differ. By beating Roger Federer en route to the 2010 US Open final, and saving match points that is, Djokovic was able to lay the foundation for his 2011 success. Winning the Davis Cup brought out this newfound motivation in Djokovic. Don't forget, 2010 was also the year that Djokovic was able to sort out whatever health issues he had and was able to really refine his diet, removing gluten, refined sugar, and going to more of a plant-based diet, which saw him have great success in 2011. Therefore, I would put the 2010 Djokovic season in the B tier. In my opinion, Djokovic's 2011 ATP season is the greatest ever tennis season. And that is probably a spoiler for the rest of the video. So let's just put it straight into the top of S tier. This is because he won 3 Grand Slams, which he did go on to do 3 more times. However, his ATP season in general was amazing. That winning streak, which started at the Davis Cup and went all the way through to the 2011 Roland Garros semi-final against Roger Federer, is, in my opinion, one of the greatest ever winning streaks in sporting history. By beating Rafael Nadal in what is probably the greatest ever tennis match in the 2012 Australian Open final, Novak Djokovic gave himself a great head start for the 2012 ATP season. However, he wasn't quite able to replicate his 2011 results. That being said, the 2012 ATP season of Novak Djokovic is quite underrated because it is seen as one of the greatest ever tennis seasons in general. That is, the Big Four, each winning 1 Grand Slam in 2012. Therefore, by Djokovic being the year number 1, he was able to rise above the competition and be the last man standing in what was probably the most competitive tennis season of all time. That being said, it is not quite an S tier season, and I would put it towards the top of the A tier. 2013 yielded similar results to 2012 for Novak Djokovic, that is, by winning the Australian Open and the Tour finals. He was also able to win the Monte Carlo Masters, which was a huge weight lifted off Djokovic's shoulders, as he was able to win what was technically his home Masters tournament. However, Djokovic developed a bit of a mental block following his Australian Open win, by not being able to convert chances in major Grand Slam matches at Roland Garros against Rafael Nadal in the semi-finals, which was a 5-set epic, the Wimbledon final against Andy Murray, and the US Open final against Rafael Nadal. Granted, all opponents at the 3 Grand Slams were amazing. Djokovic had chances, and he was not able to use that clutch gene that we often associate with him to prevail in such matches. Therefore, I would put the 2013 season right in the middle of the A tier. At first, 2014 was a bit of a continuation of Djokovic's 2013 season, where he was not able to convert his chances at the Australian Open and Roland Garros Grand Slams. However, broke his mental block by winning the 2014 Wimbledon title. In addition, he won 4 ATP Masters titles, and he was able to recover what was a bit of a poor season into being a great momentum booster into what was one of his great seasons in 2015. Therefore, I would put his 2014 season in the A tier.
Djokovic's 2015 season is undoubtedly a GOAT-level season. Many people say it's the best ever. Having won 30 Grand Slams, the ATP Finals, and 6 ATP Masters-level titles, it's amazing, isn't it? I prefer the 2011 streak because there's something about it. Like, when is it going to end? Perhaps 2015 level is better, but just something about me, the nostalgia. 2011 I prefer, but 2015 is better than anyone else's tennis season. And Djokovic probably holds a title of at least the top 2 tennis seasons of all time. And 2015, there's not much to say. An amazing season built off the back end of the 2014 season. And therefore, no surprises for guessing that it's going straight into the S tier. The 2016 season, it was a bit of a continuation of the 2015 season, and therefore you can make a bit of an argument that ended up being a bit of a 2-year span from the 2014 US Open period and the Wimbledon period, of course, to the 2016 Roland Garros title, where it was the peak of Novak Djokovic's tennis career. And he was actually having arguably the greatest season of his career to that point, winning the first 2 Grand Slams and 4 ATP Masters titles eventually by the end of the year. Djokovic somewhat got into a slump following the Roland Garros title where he just was lacking motivation. However, he was still able to make the final of the US Open after one of the most strangest matches in the history of tennis against Gael Monfils in the semi-finals. He did lose to Stan Wawrinka, and he was not able to make the 2016 season an exceptional season in its own right to the level of 2015 because he was not able to win the Tour finals, losing to Andy Murray in the final, which would have not only given him a Tour finals victory, but year-end number 1 ranking. And of course, 2016 is an amazing year. And in fact, it was his first 2 Slam season at that point. And therefore, we must put the 2016 season at the top of the A tier. 2017 is probably the only forgettable season in this list. That being said, he still won 2 ATP titles. He made a final of the Rome Masters and made a couple Grand Slam quarterfinals in what would be an amazing season for any other tennis player. However, Djokovic was impeded by injury in this season. And some people argue that it's a bit of a what-if season for Djokovic in the fact that what if he had surgery earlier? Would he have had an amazing 2017 season? Would he have got a year back of his career? And I argue everything happens for a reason. And it was Djokovic's choice not to get surgery until 2018, in the middle stages of 2018. And you know what? This was a bit of a mental lesson for Djokovic. And perhaps he needed a bit of a down year just to reflect on his career, where he's at, because he personally did admit he was lacking motivation following winning Roland Garros in 2016, where he sealed the career Grand Slam. So 2017, although it was a poor year tennis-wise, perhaps it was necessary. That being said, this is a tennis ranking video, and therefore 2017 is the only year that goes into the D tier. Djokovic's 2018 season actually started off worse than his 2017 season. That being said, Following his loss to Benoit Paire, where he was at a low point of his career at the Miami Masters and retired for a few weeks, according to his wife, Jelena Djokovic, Novak Djokovic had the elbow surgery and began to play some better tennis towards the end of the clay season. Although at one point he was saying how he was unsure whether he was going to play on grass, Djokovic won Wimbledon and the US Open and also sealed the career Golden Masters. A better serve, better tactics, and mental fortitude, which has become the norm of Djokovic's second half of his career, was introduced in 2018. The results of 2018 are quite similar to 2016. However, it's always nicer to finish off the season better than to finish off poorly. Therefore, I put this year firmly in the A tier. 2019 started off very strongly for Novak Djokovic, winning that Australian Open in dominating fashion against Rafael Nadal in the final. However, going into Roland Garros, where he had a chance to get the non-calendar Grand Slam for the second time in his career, Djokovic perhaps exerted a level of performance that was not possible. Once again, perhaps that 2018 to 2019 stretch was a bit of a lack of motivation following the Australian Open, and he needed to reset, and he did that by winning the Wimbledon title in amazing fashion by saving match points. But it was such an exerting and mentally challenging win that took out a lot of Djokovic's energy that, in my opinion, the season was somewhat over after the Wimbledon title. As a two-slam season, I would put Djokovic's 2019 season in the A tier, probably in between his 2016 and 2018 seasons. Djokovic's 2020 season is the real what if, as is for most players and most of the world. We all know what happened in 2020. Being somewhat robbed of an entire Grand Slam that he was favourite to win at Wimbledon, not being able to play, not being able to even participate, the entire tournament was cancelled. 2020 started off very well with an amazing winning streak going into the COVID break. And he even continued it on after that break into the US Open, winning Cincinnati. But we all know what happened in 2020 US Open. And once again, this bodes well into my narrative of a what-if season. He would have been a very big favourite to win that US Open. And of course, he lost in the final of Roland Garros, which is fair enough. Rafael Nadal did play very well. But this could have really been a 3 Grand Slam season for Novak Djokovic. It only ended up being 1. And I believe he used a lot of this what-if energy for the following season and trying to win as many slams as possible in the 2021 season. Therefore, I would rank the 2020 season in the B tier. And then we go into the 2021 season, which was obviously builds off that energy of the what-if 2020 season, probably more so because of the default at the 2020 US Open more than anything, and the Wimbledon cancellation affected all players equally. The 2021 season was magical. It was actually, at the time, I thought it was like, at one point, Djokovic's greatest ever season. At the end and over time, in hindsight, it wasn't. However, it definitely was an S-tier level season. Probably at the same time, a bit of a what-if season once again. However, you have to be happy with 3 slams and another final and being 1 slam away, 1 match away from a calendar Grand Slam. 2022 was, in my opinion, and is, in my opinion, Djokovic's most underrated season of all time. He was banned from 2 Grand Slams, countless Masters tournaments and other tournaments that he may have wanted to play. But for the most part, he made the most of when he was able to play. He won Wimbledon, one of the 2 Grand Slams he played, and the ATP finals. He also won not countless, but a few tournaments in the fall of 2022. He also won a Rome Masters. But that's besides the point. The individual results are relevant. It's just more about his mental fortitude and ability to play well when he was limited to a handful of tournaments. And I really commend Djokovic. And in my opinion, it ranks as his best ever 1 slam season. And therefore, I must put it in the A tier. Djokovic's 2023 season was probably his best ever Grand Slam season and was also a very good ATP season in general following his Wimbledon loss, because in my opinion that Wimbledon loss prolonged his career and heightened his motivation for the rest of 2023, perhaps going into 2024. He played a lot of Masters tournaments and ATP tournaments he perhaps wouldn't have played if he had won Wimbledon. That Cincinnati title felt like a Grand Slam win. And he went on to not only win the US Open, but win the Paris Masters and ATP Finals titles. The Davis Cup loss, of course, was not great, but in the future, you probably don't even remember that match, to be honest. It's obviously got its own slot straight into the S tier, probably above the 2021 season, and probably the 3rd best season in his career. going over the tier list, I'm in agreement with what I've done. Of course I am. Comment below if you believe you would put a season elsewhere, maybe lower or higher. And also comment whether you would like to see more tier lists. It doesn't have to be in relation to Djokovic. It can be in relation to another tennis player or a different sport, or coming up is the Euros. So we can talk about maybe a Euros tier list. Comment below what you would like to see. And that's all. Please like and subscribe. And until next time.